So I got this old checkbook here. Don't worry, it's old. This account doesn't exist anymore. But just imagine that I got this check and it still existed, and I came up to you and I wrote this out and I signed my name to it. And then it's blank here. You put your name at the top, and it's written out for $1 billion, right? $1 billion. So if I gave you a check for $1 billion and I signed it and it had my name on it, you'd probably say, "Okay, thanks for that," and then throw it away. But say, what if, for instance, someone like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or someone like that came up to you and wrote a check for $1 billion, and you knew that person actually had billions and billions of dollars in their bank account? You might approach that check a little differently than if I would have wrote that check. The reason being, one of those people owned billions of dollars and one of them didn't. And if that analogy is helpful or not, I think that's kind of what we see with Jesus. He is the owner of the peace. He's the creator of peace. He is peace himself. And so when Jesus says to us, "Peace be with you," we know he's writing a check he can cash, so to speak, right? It's not like someone else. Sometimes, if you're trying to comfort someone, you say, there, it's going to be okay, don't be afraid. If you're just speaking your own words and saying, hey, it's going to be okay, well, that doesn't generally okay, why is it going to be okay? But if we hear that from Christ, who says, peace be with you, that's completely different. And I think John 14, verse 27 sums this up the best. John 14, this is what Jesus is saying. He says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." So not Pax Romana, not the peace of the world, but my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Don't let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. I don't give as the world gives. So Jesus is saying, I don't give based on merit. I don't give based on who's value, who's done something, who's worthy of it. I give as in a different way. I give to the unworthy. I give to the undeserving. I give to the worthless. I give to you. I give to people like me. He gives to us. And he doesn't give what the world gives. He doesn't give Pax Romana. He gives Shalom. And so we get this gift from Christ himself. And so he entered into that room. He said, "Peace be with you." And he had the authority to give that peace. And he didn't give what the Romans were giving. He gave Shalom. Not just an absence of violence. Not just economic security. Not even physical health. But he gave this shalom in the midst of all this. And later on he says, you're going to go out, you're going to face a world, you're going to face hardship, you're going to face persecution, you're going to face famine, you're going to face all these things. But in the midst of all those things, you're going to have shalom. You're going to have peace because I gave it to you. And so I think that's where we can get our sense of peace, and I think now this message is most appropriate than we've probably ever experienced, because we see the system around us starting to crumble. We see things that we've relied on our whole lives we're starting to question: can we continue to rely on them? Can the system that has got us to this point get us to the future? And before, we've always just assumed that yes, the peace that the world has to offer we've experienced. But now all of a sudden, some of the things that we've built our lives upon are starting to crumble. And now I think more than ever, we're starting to realize that we need to rely on the peace that Christ gives. That in the midst of all the troubles we face, Jesus doesn't take them away. He doesn't say, with my peace, everything will be great. But he says, with my peace, you can experience shalom in the midst of all those things. And I'm reminded of Psalm 46, what the psalmist writes. He says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Doesn't say it takes the trouble away, but that ever-present help. That's the sense of shalom. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. Notice that the psalmist doesn't say God stops all these things from happening. But it's in the midst of all these things, in the midst of all this world-changing things that happen. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at the break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his earth. He lifts his voice. The earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. When Jesus entered that room, he entered into a room of fear, of anxiety, of mourning, of loss, of you name it. The emotion was there. And Jesus entered and he said, peace be with you. And Jesus gives us that same offer to command this peace which surpasses understanding to enter into our lives, into our community, that's not reliant on what's happening in the world. That's not reliant on security or health or anything else that the world can offer. Christ offers us the shalom. My prayer is that we can receive this gift that Christ offers in the midst of uncertain times.